Welcome to the Capital Investment Committee meeting of Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. The Capital Investment Committee meeting will limit physical access in the meeting room due to current limitations on public gatherings. Accommodations have been made to ensure that the public is able to participate in the meeting. The public may participate in the following ways: watch the meeting on Franklin TV or the City of Franklin website. Watch the live stream through the City of Franklin Facebook and YouTube accounts. Call in to the conference meeting 1-312-626-6799. Meeting ID 956-2265-1918. Passcode 574454. Callers will be unmuted and given an opportunity to comment during the meeting at specific times. Limited viewing will be available in the lobby of City Hall to watch the live video and make public comment. The public may email comments and questions prior to 2:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting to recorder@franklin10.gov to be read aloud. Live comments and those submitted by email will be limited to 2 minutes. You will find us on City YouTube, City of Franklin City Facebook, Live, City website. The meeting will come to order and we will have the roll call. Alderman Blanton.
Here.
Alderman Berger. Not here yet. Alderman McClendon.
I'm here.
Alderman Martin, present. There will be the meeting procedure changes, and I don't have those. Thank you. The meeting procedure changes are consideration of resolution 2021-85, a resolution declaring that the Capital Investment Committee shall meet on April 22nd, 2021, and conduct its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of the members physically present in the same location, because it is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Is there a motion to accept the change?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. We'll have a roll call vote. Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
I'm sorry, I had problems getting on, so I don't know what we're voting on.
We're voting on the procedure changes for the meeting.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Alderman McClendon.
Yes.
And Martin, yes. Item number 1, approval of the minutes of the March 25th, 2021 Capital Investment Committee meeting. Is there approval? Second?
Second.
All right, we'll have a roll call vote. Alderman Blanton.
I like these meetings because I get to go first. Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman McClendon.
Yes.
Martin votes yes. Thank you. New business. Discussion and guidance on proceeding with a preliminary sanitary sewer study and plan inclusive of the Red Wing Farm subdivision and surrounding area. Michelle.
Hi there, good afternoon. I took myself off mute. So we received a letter for sewer availability on several properties on Holly Hill Drive and Shannon Lane in the Red Wing Farm subdivision. so outside the city limits, south on Lewisburg, within the county. The availability letter, an application wasn't submitted through our process, was requested for a low pressure grinder pump system. So typically the water department, is kind of a little background. Typically the water department prefers to explore a gravity option before we move toward a grinder pump system. We choose to develop our system this way. It's lower maintenance. And when gravity options have been fully explored, we then can move to this next option. So we've not performed, the kind of item for discussion is we've not performed a sewer system study in this area to determine if gravity is a feasible option. There are several properties in this neighborhood that are adjacent to the Henpeck Lane interceptor. So those properties, taps have been made for them to connect when their septic system, if they haven't connected yet, starts to fail. A lot of properties in this neighborhood are older to where their septic systems may be starting to fail at some point in time, or they're looking to expand and need a letter from Williamson County to move forward. We've also denied several properties sewer availability in this area because it's not been feasible for a single homeowner to extend a gravity main. So it's kind of just been checking a box. They've all gone through you all here to deny those, so then they can take that to Williamson County to get the appropriate septic approval. So this is we're kind of presenting this discussion to you and looking for guidance on moving forward with having a consultant perform a small basin study in this area to include these adjacent neighborhoods to develop a gravity system or to fully explore whether a gravity system is possible, is feasible. I think Vernon may have some more to add to this as well.
All right, Vernon?
Thank you, Alderman and Michelle. Our team had discussed this internally, and the situation is that Red Ring Farms and other properties in that area are not in the city presently. So, and they're on septic systems that are individual septic systems that at some point in time may begin failing, but it's difficult for the property owners to make any improvements to their property, i.e. Exterior improvements, patio pools, or even additions. So what if these septic systems in neighborhoods such as this begin to fail, understandably, they're going to come to the city and our water department to extend sewer to these properties, and we don't have a plan. So what we're proposing is to do a preliminary plan that will give us all the information to make an informed decision, as Michelle has stated. The Mr. Franks is on at the meeting here, and his proposal that was developed by Matt Bryant, a local engineer, may be a temporary solution or maybe even a permanent solution at some point, but we can't make that a judgment now without the preliminary plan. I also talked to Mr. Franks, and if there was a temporary solution, once that maybe would lead into a permanent gravity solution, which is most efficient for everybody, that we could likely look into some type of agreement where when we converted to that gravity solution, if that's viable, that the properties he's looking to serve could contribute their proportionate share. So all that said, starting with the preliminary plan would give us the information we need to help Mr. Franks and other property owners that begin to inquire about being served by a public sewer system, the information we need to provide guidance.
Michelle, do you have anything to add to that before we discuss this?
No, I don't. Vernon did a good job.
Okay, Margaret, I've got a,
You have something to say, Bev?
sure.
You want to speak?
Is Mr. Franks on this? Is Jimmy Franks on this call? Is he here?
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm on. Yes, I am.
Okay,
Alderman.
sorry. Oh, good. Okay, so you had mentioned this, and I asked to come over there and look at it. So I went over last week and looked at it. These are all properties in your family that are in that area, or a property or two that you own that's right actually out in front of your house. You applied and were able to get sewer. And when I went out there, I could put 1 foot here and 1 foot there, and I'm in the county, I'm in the city, and the sewer main was right there. The sewer manhole, yeah, was right there on 1 foot, county on the other side. What was the name of that subdivision they built there, Jimmy?
It's River Bluff.
River Bluff. Okay. So I saw the manhole for River Bluff right there. And I said, so I'm looking at this, and there's this little road there that they could just run this whole line down. And then each of these houses can just run their lines. So it looked pretty easy and simple. I didn't think it was a complicated thing for these properties to do that. And then if you look at Red Ring Meadows and that area, yeah, we probably should take a good look at that, because at some time, if there's a need in the future for people to extend sewer in that area, or if they want to annex in at some point, then they can jump on board with that. Jimmy, could you speak to that? How that setup was that you were looking at, how those all hooked on? Because you had a better feel for that.
Oh, sure. Golly.
Just explain, can you explain that to all of us?
Yes. Well, we're contiguous. We have about 25 acres through there collectively, and we're contiguous. And years ago, when Red Wing was built, all those lots are roughly an acre in size, and they back up to the Edgeman Farm, which was converted to subdivided into River Bluff. And so there is a road that leads into Red Wing from River Bluff that dead ends to one of our fields where we grow 1,000 tomatoes or whatever it is. It's a big garden. I think Beverly know about it. But in any case, I hooked up to the sewer last summer by having the ability to engineer a sewer line into the manhole on the north side of River Bluff, and then on the south side of River Bluff, we continue to back up to. We have about 7 or 8 houses through there, and Matt Bryan, our engineer, he did get with the sewer department and talk, and we were asked to look into the feasibility of running gravity flow sewer in the sewer. We did that, and taking it down Holly Hill Drive would mean you'd have to carry it out to Lewisburg Pike, and then you'd have to 90-degree go north on Lewisburg Pike and cross those Columbia Gulf transmission lines. And they had that issue in River Bluff where the Columbia Gulf had to lower those lines about 10 feet to get enough separation between a gravity flow sewer and the Columbia Gulf. But the cost of running all that sewer back to River Bluff on the frontage of Lewisburg Pike was in excess of $300,000 or $400,000, and the cost of putting the grinder pumps on these houses allows less than a $30,000 installation, not counting the pumps. So it's we use a check valve. We would tie one line into the manhole, and with a check valve, we would be responsible for those lines and the grinder itself. We would provide easements to the city. We'd enter into an agreement, as Vernon indicated. I think he represented that very well. We would just like to run tandem with the study if possible, and do a temporary tie-in. And if it ends up becoming gravity flow, we would agree to all that. We would agree to be annexed as well. And so those easements would be dedicated to whoever wants to use those easements, even if they're across the street later on. But I believe the ultimate goal is to get gravity sewer. And Vernon's right. It's because the county, the guidelines now, we're the only county in the state that has the type of restrictions on environmental and septic. And you can't, if it's a 3-bedroom ranch and you want to knock out a wall and make it a 4-bedroom, a nursery or something, you have to apply to the county for that. Well, it is not permissible to add another bedroom if you're going to put a closet in that bedroom, and therefore your septic's not conforming, and you have to abandon the existing septic and add a $50,000 LPP in the rest of the backyard. So it's unbelievable. It's unreasonable too, what the county guidelines are. But we're just fortunate enough to be contiguous and to back up to the sewer. And like I say, it's 1 foot into the property line from all these properties in that map. And that Matt may be on the phone, and Matt can talk to the engineering aspect if you'd like to hear Matt's point of view.
Thanks. That was helpful.
You know, when you're talking, when you and I were talking, Jimmy,
Margaret, you're on mute.
excuse me. I felt like we were talking about one property instead of several, but
Yeah, and we can do one at a time and temporarily if we need to
Well,
do it that way. So,
as we do this, as we look at these properties and the septic tanks begin to fail, then more and more people are going to want to get on. Why don't you just go on and ask for annexation for this property? Maybe that's what the study will do. I don't know, but I
do
know.
that. Yes, ma'am. I can put that in there tomorrow. I can ask for that annexation tomorrow if you'd like me to.
Well, not just you, but all of these properties that are available to come online
Sure.
because of their failure of the septic tanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to do it piecemeal.
No, I understand. Well, that's a no-brainer. We can certainly. And I think that, and Vernon, you may correct me, but isn't that a requirement anyway that we have to sign an agreement that if the city?
You do.
Yeah, if Alderman Martin and Jimmy, thank you for, explaining. Let me offer a little bit more insight. First of all, Red Wings Farms is a subdivision. And, we're talking about 6 or 7 properties in a subdivision. And through our experience, that when a subdivision wants or requests sewer service, that we look at an assessment district to have each property contribute its proportionate share. Now, we're not at that point. What Jimmy's asking for is to serve a handful of properties. And we could make that work, but the point is that we don't have a plan to understand how that neighborhood and the surrounding properties could be served by gravity in its entirety. Now, that doesn't mean Jimmy's plan can't be temporary, and he's agreed to contribute to a gravity system. However, he doesn't know, and we don't know what the cost of a gravity system would be, or even if that's realistic. So that's the situation. And I know Jimmy wants to get going with one of the properties, and that's certainly another option. But, we annexing a few properties in a neighborhood doesn't look at the whole problem and give us enough information.
I understand that.
Margaret, may I make a comment?
Yes, Brandy.
Thank you. So, first of all, Michelle, you had said something, and I'm not at all, it sounds like I'm trying to hold your feet to the fire, but yes, we have definitely, I feel like a lot in the last year had different county properties come before us and ask for sewer availability. I can't be sure, but I can almost say in my memory, not one of them has been in Red Wing Farms. So I think that, because I know of Red Wing Farms because of friends I grew up with and the entire Franks family that resides there. I think this is a unique situation because you do, while it is 7 or 8 homes, which anywhere else that would sound like a bunch of neighbors coming together. This is different because it's a family that has 7 or 8 homes in one neighborhood that they built. So it's an unusual situation. I do think that their being contiguous is something that really kind of moves this to the front of the line as a viable option. I think that the study is not necessarily a bad idea, but as was suggested, there's no reason why they can't go ahead and do this in concert with the study if it's what's going to eventually happen in some form or fashion, and it's on their dollar, with them realizing that they are going to come up to the table when it goes to a sewer only option. So I know Dana hasn't spoken, but I'm going to make a motion that we approve the request for these properties to seek a temporary solution with the knowledge that they will support a permanent solution.
All right, that's a proper
Second.
motion.
I'll
Is there a
second, I'll second that.
Eric, you got the confused look. Was that too long of a motion?
Well,
I-
I can't tell if you're supporting the study that was recommended or not. from
Yeah,
the-
I'll
well,
make an amendment to support the study. Right now, I just think that my amendment
Well-
or my motion is to accept.
Well, now,
help-
wait just a minute, Brandy.
Yes,
Excuse me.
ma'am.
All right, the motion would have to do something about we're talking about the study.
Okay.
We're talking about the study right now for $50,000.
here we are.
And let's get that taken care of, then we'll talk about your motion. How about that?
Yes, ma'am. So
Would
I
that
will
be
make
all
a
right?
motion to approve the study
Okay.
for this area.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
All right, I don't
Is it
know about
backwards?
Robert's rules. We should have, I guess, gotten rid of that motion in second before.
Well, we just discussed all of this other stuff. I mean, honest to Pete, I thought we could, it's a little confusing, but
Well, it shouldn't be confusing. It should be
it's confusing.
very clear. We're talking about the study. The study. Now, Brandy's made
So
the
I'm
motion.
going to make an amendment to the motion, correct? Is that correct, Robert's rules?
Wait a second. Do we have a second to the motion
We
first?
did. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Bev
I
did.
gave a second.
Bev did that. All
I
right.
gave a second to the motion. Now Brandy's got an
Got
amendment.
an amendment. All right. What's your amendment, Brandy?
So Eric, I'm watching your eyes. I now make an amendment that we accept the Frank's proposal for a temporary grinder scenario for their sewer availability.
I'll second that. That sounds pretty.
All right. Now,
thorough.
let's stop just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Paul, do you have any comments about this?
Can I say a couple of things as
Paul,
well?
Paul.
Sure.
This is really more, let Michelle address this and then we can.
I'm sorry, Michelle. All right. I thought she had finished. All right, Michelle.
Yeah, so availability an official availability application hasn't been received by the Franks yet for each of these properties. So we would need to, we don't have the acceptance of an official application is what I want to make clear for starters. The second one in municipal code, in section 206 and 2 and D, it indicates that a separate line for each service shall be connected to the main. And so the way that the Franks the way that the letter has been submitted proposing the outline is not compliant with that rule, is not compliant with the code. So if the board chooses to approve his availability, there would also need to be the allowance to deviate from the municipal code.
So would the motion be with that stipulation on it? Adding that stipulation to the motion?
I
Alderman
certainly-
Berger,
I don't know.
I'm sorry, this is Jimmy again. We filled out a request for sewer. We may not have used exact forms, but we did submit a drawing and a request. And we're glad to come in and reapply whatever is like she said. So if I'm glad to get Matt Bryant and together and we'll get the proper forms, whatever it needed. But if we could, if that motion is contingent on that, that would be great. I'd appreciate that.
I would, you do need to have them make the formal request for availability. That,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
So what we could do is we could spend this next month or these next couple weeks in preparation for the deadline for the May CIC that'll be in person, is preparing the application with the appropriate compliance with the municipal code and then present that to the board.
So, but also too, I think if which came first, the chicken or the egg? This request is what prompted the study, correct? So I think in my mind, it's very, Dana, help here. In my mind, it's appropriate that we recognize the study does not make their request wait longer. That's the reason for me trying to couple the amendment with the study.
I don't have an answer to that. It
If I
seems to
may.
me, it seems to me that we ought to deal with the study first. But Mark, you want to say something?
Yes, Alderman Martin. I think one of the things we may look at doing, since we haven't yet received the formal application, is get it on an agenda coming up in the very near future and consider it in that respect. If I remember correctly, there were a couple of other availabilities that were denied in Red Wing, where they wanted to tie on to the Henpeck line using, I think, grinder pumps as well. Michelle, am I correct in that? But I believe there are two that had been denied, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the exact
Yeah, so we'll get
addresses,
that
but-
information, but it's certainly something, we now have a recommendation from this body, at least verbally, that we want to move forward with this availability. We can go through the appropriate channels and get that in front of you here in the near future. Just my 2 cents.
Mark, I think those other properties were back in on that eastern side of the subdivision. The ones that Mr. Franks is bringing are contiguous to the city and also within just a few feet of that manhole.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's a little different than the people that wanted it before, where they were stuck in the middle of nowhere out of it. actually.
Eric, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I'm trying to think this through because ultimately the board's going to need to approve whatever we do. The CIC can give some guidance, but the board's going to need to make decisions. So I'm wondering how we want to frame this recommendation, if we want to bring it to the board with this blend of the study and how you may want to proceed with a subset of properties in a unincorporated subdivision that would want to annex into the city. You're dealing with the potential of something that you haven't done before, which is to annex a portion of a neighborhood, not the whole neighborhood.
We don't have to annex it, do we? They can annex it in at some point, like a lot of people do. If we provide sewer, then they say, if, we're providing sewer to the entire subdivision, then they have to agree to annex in.
We typically link that. You could make a commitment to annex at the cities when the city requests it. That could be part of this. I'm just trying to think through, if we bring this back to the next CIC, it doesn't necessarily move the ball forward at all, because it'll still need to go to the board in June for a decision. So I don't know if you want to bring it to a work session, maybe the second one in May, so that the whole board can weigh in and you get more of the guidance of the collective board as opposed to half of the board. That's just something to think about.
All right. Well, let me, Jimmy, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. When you came to us for this meeting, you were in agreement that we would vote on a plan.
Yes,
Is that-
ma'am.
All right. You're not asking us today to vote for for the approval or to recommend to the board for your approval for your new tap. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I am asking for that. I'm agreeable to, I think the study is important and I think it's worth the money to spend to study all of the basin there. You not only do you have Red Wing Farms, but you have Ellington Park and the gravity possibility of going to the interceptor. The long range plan is a wonderful idea. Since it got bypassed when 5 Mile Creek interceptor went up to Berry Farms, the homeowners that back up to the interceptor in Red Wing Meadows, that whole line of houses had the ability to tie into that interceptor. And so most of them have tied on at this point through there, but fortunately they were contiguous with it. We're contiguous with it as well on the to the north along the south boundary there of River Bluff. So you're picking them up slowly but surely, but the overall plan is like Vernon described, to have a gravity flow system that picks up Red Wing Farms, Red Wing Woods, and Ellington Park.
Okay, I understand that, Jimmy, but there's not one word of your application on this agenda. Don't we have to stick to the agenda? Am I not correct? Aren't we supposed to stick to the agenda?
I mean, I did apply, so I don't,
Well, it's not on here. It's not on this paper right here.
Oh,
Madam Chair, you are correct. That is not on the agenda and it was not published as an item on the agenda. You are correct.
why not? I thought that's what he asked
We
for.
didn't have a
so-
sewer, we did not have a sewer availability request.
Jimmy,
we
what
did
did
not
you
have
fill out at the department? Was it not a request at all?
No,
Let me
Alderman
help.
Berger,
Yeah,
attached to this item is the letter that he wrote requesting availability. So
We
our
got a
application-
letter, that's
was
not
not-
the application.
Well, that's all. Go ahead, Vern. Sorry.
Were you informed of that?
So when Eric received the letter, it wasn't an availability request to our water department. I spoke to Mr. Franks and his engineer, Matt Bryant, and I just sent Matt Bryant an email because he had told me late last week or mid last week that he was going to submit those requests as required, but apparently we haven't received them. But even if we had received them last week, it wouldn't have been on this agenda. So Matt Bryant said he was gonna submit them and I don't get them. They go right to the water department, our water department.
They've not yet been received.
So
No.
what do you want Jimmy to do? Do you want him to go in and make a formal request, then bring it back next month?
That's
That's
the
fine.
best thing to do.
Yeah, he needs to do, that's the process.
All right.
Sure,
Okay.
no
What do we
problem.
do with all our motions then? Just withdraw
All
them?
right, you can withdraw your,
Or
the
do you
second
still
city
want to move
amendment.
ahead with the study anyway?
Yeah,
So the cleanest thing to do would be for the motion maker to rescind the motions and then the second to agree and kind of start over. That would be the cleanest way to deal with this.
So I make a motion to rescind my amendment.
I'll second that.
all right. Lord, I don't know what to vote on. All right, we're gonna vote. We're voting to rescind the motion. Do we have to do that?
No,
I
ma'am.
just
vote to
got
rescind.
rid of it.
It's gone.
It's gone.
The
All right,
decision eliminates it.
all right. Then all right, but we still have the motion for the study. Now.
Yes.
Do we need to do that again, just the study?
Yes, a vote.
Okay, all right, do that one, Brandy.
Well, we've already got a first and a second. Now we take a vote on the original motion was to accept the study.
Right.
Okay, all right. Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Berger. Berger,
Figure out if I want to spend $55,000 on a study that I'm not sure we need at this point. Because how many people actually want to be
Girl, it's gonna keep coming and coming.
on?
wait just a minute. Let me, let's.
Well, we are contingent, as part of that is contiguous to the city of Franklin.
All right,
So
are you,
I'll vote yes.
do you vote, all right, you vote yes. Alderman McClendon
Yes.
and Alderman Martin, yes. Now, just for a point of discussion here, these, obviously, there will be more properties coming in requesting this. That's where the study comes in. That's why we need the study. So now we voted to do the study. Does that have to go to the board?
Yes. Everything, the committee doesn't approve anything. It recommends it to the board.
All right, so we recommend it to the board for the study. All right. That's it. Thank you. All right, we're going to item number 3. Consideration to grant water availability for 2060 Hillsborough Road, map 037, parcel 00300. Michelle.
So this is a standard water availability on Hillsborough Road. This property currently actually has city water, but they're subdividing it into 2 lots. So to be compliant with municipal code, they're requesting another meter for the lot that they're subdividing it into as a separate service. So we are, I'm sorry?
Is this in the city?
No. This is outside, but they currently are served by city water.
Okay.
So the water department is recommending approval.
Okay.
Where is 2060 Hillsborough Road? I'm looking on the map, but I have no idea.
I
because
couldn't tell a thing about the map.
There's no crossroads identified or anything, so I don't know where they are.
I'm pulling it up in GIS right
It'd be good to have a crossroad on there so we could actually see where we are talking about, but
I have no idea where
that
it is.
little square, it's got that little square up there, and it
Yeah,
looks
so
like a
it's
field.
north of Barry Chapel's Court. It looks like is the closest crossroad.
Is that crossroads down there where the red line is? Is that Linwood?
Yes.
No. Is that Linwood?
It's on the west side of Hillsborough across from Legends Ridge.
Oh, it is. Okay. Is that where that barn is? American flag on it? Looks like it. Or maybe it's above that.
It's just south of that.
South of that? Okay. All right.
All right.
Well,
Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Okay. Any more discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
How much water?
It's just one SFUE.
I move to amend the motion to make clear that the approval is granted for one and only one and not more than one SFUE.
All right.
Second.
Second to that. All right. Any more discussion?
Yeah. Why, Dana? What's the big deal with the one?
Because it's a big piece of property and I don't want to have somebody go tap and subdivide and try to put 5 houses on.
So they'll just get one tap? Isn't that done by tap?
That's what I said, one SFUE.
All right.
So if they want more, they have to come back to you.
You have to, yeah.
All right. We'll vote on the amendment. Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Berger,
Yes.
Alderman McClendon,
Yes.
Martin, yes. All right, now we'll vote on the on the motion, the main motion. Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Berger,
Yes.
Alderman McClendon, Martin, I'm sorry, McClendon, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Martin, yes. All right, that's taken care of. I'm glad you made that point, Dana. That was that was important. All right, item number 4, consideration of amendment number 2 to City of Franklin contract number 2020-0012 with Hazen and Sawyer for pilot facility construction phase services for the evaluation of Southeast WW capacity. Michelle.
Yeah, so this one is the second amendment for Hazen. The pilot facility is going on the same site as the Red Wing Reclaim Booster Station that we've been discussing for a while. So in order to kind of ease construction access and contractor site control, we decided to merge both of those projects into one, since they were both ready to be bid at the same time. So this amendment includes that redesign. There's just a little bit of incorporation of the two designs that we had to do. Some other things that it also includes is, as we were looking at the pilot facility and how to kind of design that for the best amount, for the lowest cost, I guess is the best way to say that. We redesigned it a little bit to include, just to focus on the advanced technologies. And then the wastewater unit is actually going to be a bench scale unit that we're going to perform in the laboratory. So TDEC has approved this modification, and it reduces the pilot construction cost by about $2 to $3 million. So there was just a slight redesign to incorporate that. It also includes, so this proposal also includes inspection services for both of those facilities, which is typical of all of our projects. Also including is cost for the consultant to rent the pilot equipment to be included in the building. This is kind of allow us to move a little bit quicker with procurement of that. The entire amount of this proposal was actually included in the impact fee discussions that we've been having when we've talked about the current costs that we're incurring right now, to make sure that we're recapturing all of those costs. So I wanted to make sure that was fairly clear, is that when the ordinance change for the impact fees will be adopted, these costs are included in that amount to recover.
Will it all be recovered?
Yes.
And what is the amount?
The amount for this amendment is a little over $600,000.
All right. Any other discuss? Oh, well, guess we need a motion before we discuss. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, second. Thank you. Alderman Berger. All right, any other discussion? We'll vote. Blanton?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
McClendon?
Yes.
Martin? Yes. Thank you. All right, number 5, consideration of draft amendment number 1 to City of Franklin contract number 2020-0230 with Boozer and Company, PC, for additional appraisal services for the Jordan Road Improvement Project at a cost increase of $3,800. 8/27/2020. CIC 4-0. All right. Paul or Jonathan or Sarah?
It will be me, Alderman Martin. First, let me apologize that at 8/27/2020 CIC claim there is that was from the original item. That was an error on our part, so I apologize for that. That needs to be struck from the memo, and we'll take care of that when it goes to the full board.
Thank you.
And this is basically just the the design plans were missing a property line that divided two properties. So when that information was sent to our appraiser, they did not count that as two properties, they counted it as one. So this is just the additional appraisal needed for that additional property.
All right, so do we need a vote on that
Yes, ma'am.
to accept that?
Yes, to recommend approval of the amendment.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, any more discussion? Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Berger,
Yes.
Alderman McClendon,
Yes.
Martin, and Martin, yes. All right, thank you. All right, item number 6, capital projects dashboard and status updates for April 2021.
Just a couple of quick ones that I'll mention, and then I'll answer any questions you have. If you haven't driven down Crothers Parkway, the contractor is really moving on the Southeast Park entryway and the bridge. They haven't started construction of the bridge yet, but they're putting in the fill material, and they're actually prepping the temporary bridge to install that in the next couple of weeks. So they're really moving forward down there, and you can see some good work going on. Hopefully we'll share some pictures with you here pretty soon that really show some of the work closer. The second one I'll mention just came across my desk today is earlier this year, and actually late last year when it came in, the board approved the intersection or interchange modifications for the additional left turn lane at McEwen Drive and I-65. And we awarded the contract earlier in the year, and we were holding off on giving a notice to proceed for the contractor to order signal poles. Well, that has been ordered, and the contractor will actually start work beginning this coming Monday. So that would put them at completing that project toward the end of the year. So we're excited to get that one started and get that one complete. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the members?
Jonathan, it's going to take 9 months or whatever, 8 months to put that left turn lane in and the pole?
It's more than just that left turn lane. So to put that left turn lane in, we actually have to modify the entrance ramp to the interstate.
Oh.
And we also have to modify the opposing approach and change that pretty significantly.
That's right.
And we're also installing a second signal because we've had issues, or we've had complaints about some visibility issues when you're coming northbound on I-65 and getting off at McEwen to go eastbound, about some visibility issues there. So there will be a signal control of that right turn as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other discussion? Any questions from anybody? All right, is there a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
Second? Anybody? We're gonna spend the night,
Second.
all right? Alderman Blanton,
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman Berger,
Yeah.
Alderman McClendon,
Peace.
and Martin, yes. Thank you all for being here.